He is holy, and I am not, and neither are you, except that he has made us holy. I like that. I have a hard time with it, though, and I think it's tied to the fact that we have a hard time really grasping and understanding the danger and destruction of sin. I mean, we talk about it some, but for the most part, it's a little bit, isn't it just blown a little bit out of proportion? I mean, don't you feel that way? You're sitting there shaking your head, no, but come on. How often do we go, that really wasn't that bad, especially when we're the ones who did it? Everybody does it. It doesn't really hurt anything. I mean, I'm not exaggerating here. If you made a cake and you told your child, don't eat from that cake, and you went to go put a load of laundry in the washing machine, and you came back into the dining room and saw 10 bites out of that cake because your kid had gotten in that cake, and you killed your son or daughter for doing that, we would say some bad things about you, and we would send you to prison. And then here's Adam and Eve, not just condemned to die, but brought all of us with them for eating a piece of fruit. Now, I'm not going to go into that too much right now because it takes too long, and it's the question for the next Q&A, which I hope to get out tomorrow, but I don't know that it's going to happen. Why would God condemn us all to die for a piece of fruit? But part of it, it's definitely not all of it, but part of it is we just simply don't understand how bad and how dangerous sin is. Even that little stuff. And I can't help but think of the Radium Girls. Has anyone ever heard of the Radium Girls? In the late 19-teens and early 1920s, there was a fairly recent discovery. It wasn't that recent. It was at least 35, 40 years old, but they didn't know the dangers. Not all of them. And they discovered that there was a substance called radium that would glow in the dark. It's really cool. It's also really, really poison. And they didn't know that at first. And when it started showing signs, they completely ignored them. And no, this is safe. They told people that it was safe, and they made paint with radium in it, and they hired these girls, teenagers, and some young women who were a little older, to paint faces on watches and clocks so they would glow in the dark and things like that. And they needed a real fine tip on their paintbrush to be able to make some of these glow in the dark numbers and things like that. So they actually trained and instructed these young ladies to lick the tip of the paintbrush to get it a real fine point. They told them it was safe. It's fine. It's just a little bit. It's not a big deal. Well, they had told them it was safe, and it's pretty cool. Some of these girls started noticing that they had little dots on their lips and on their tongue that would glow it. So they started doing really cool things like we would probably all do if it really was safe. They paint their teeth so they could glow in the dark. They paint their nails, glow in the dark fingernail polish. They would paint words and designs on their body so that when the lights went out you could see it and all that. And then slowly but surely, girls started getting sick. Their hair started falling out. Their teeth started falling out. They started getting unexplained illnesses and dying. And the people in charge said, we don't know what's going on, but it's not that. It's not the glow-in-the-dark paint. It's not the radium. That's safe. Go ahead, keep doing it. And for years, after they started seeing people get sick and die, they continued to claim it was safe and continued to use this stuff until the evidence just got completely overwhelming. And they realized, oops. And there was some sin involved. Because if you go and look at it, you see that there was a lot motivated by greed and selfishness and a lack of concern for anybody. But my point is, sin can look really cool. And it seems like no big deal. But it's poison. We're taking a little bit in at a time, and it's killing us. And just because the whole world's eating poison doesn't make it any less poison. It just means we've all been exposed. Jesus came to defeat sin and defeat death. But here's the thing. He didn't defeat sin and death by making sin safe. He didn't take the poison out of the sin. He didn't make radium non-radioactive. It's still not safe to eat radium. Nothing has changed about that. Never mind the radium. We can't even have lead in our paint now. How many years did we think that was safe? Anybody still got asbestos anywhere? Human beings do not have a good track record of understanding what is and is not good for us. Jesus didn't make sin okay. That's a false message of grace. What he did was make it like we were never exposed to it in the first place. And then he gave us the power to be shielded. Like a barrier between us and the radiation. And he did that by exposing himself to all of it at once. And it killed him in a few hours. Your sin most likely won't kill you in a few hours. Some of us can live with it for decades. As our spiritual hair falls out, and our teeth fall out, and our body falls apart, and we sit around wondering, oh goodness, I don't understand why I'm so miserable. Let me take another bite so I'll feel better. Not understanding that what we're eating to feel better is what's poisoning us and killing us. Jesus said, he's what we can have that will fill us. So he didn't just block us from the radiation that was killing us. He provided us with what would bring us life. Prevention and provision, all on the cross. As out of love, he hung between heaven and earth and took this death that we deserved upon himself so that we could have life. That's our hope. That's our joy. That's our salvation. But once more, he did not make sin safe. So So when you see all that he went through to cleanse you of your radiation sickness, why would we go back and try to glow in the dark some more? If you want to glow in the dark the way we're supposed to, not by painting something on the outside that's actually poison, that might make us bright and shiny, but rather by consuming and drawing near to the truth of who he is, so that that radiates from us and we become light to the world. Because he gave us freedom not to consume. He gave us freedom to walk through the world without getting the radiation on us. And that is an amazing act of love for a bunch of people that couldn't even understand that they were killing themselves. That it wasn't God killing us, it was just us making ourselves sick. And instead of leaving us to our own devices to die, he died in our place. That's pretty amazing love, demonstrated on the cross and proved by the resurrection.